there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. And today we are going to be setting up August in my journals and planners. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, if you guys are new here, or even if you're not, I just wanted to do a little bit of a recap of kind of what's in my lineup before I dive into setting them up, because it is that time of year when we're starting to think about our 2026 lineups. Let's be honest, I've been thinking about it all year, but it's that time when it's appropriate to start thinking about our 2026 lineups. So I'm just going to quickly go through my lineup with you guys. So I have 5 books here that this is kind of my bread and butter, my main planner lineup. I do have a few other journals and notebooks that I don't add to regularly that I will be sharing more about when I do talk about my actual 2026 lineup. But for now, I want to just kind of focus on the ones that I set up and use monthly. So first I have my functional planner. This is my Take-A-Note, and this journal I use for functional planning. And I also do some memory keeping in here. So this is kind of, I have functional planning across the top, and then I have some memory keeping at the bottom of the spreads. And this is just kind of how these end up looking. I have a lot of fun with them. And then the monthly calendars in the beginning, this is my main future planning. So I do need to set this up. In this video, I'm going to be setting up September and August. So we are going into August, so I'm planning for August, but I have a lot of future planning to do. So my September in here is totally blank right now. So I'm going to set it up so that as I live August, I can start putting appointments and looking forward to what I need to do in September. My companion to that is my Hobonichi Weeks, and this is my little on-the-go planner for functional planning. And essentially this one is kind of a mirror of this, but this is just quick and easy and something I take with me. On the weekly spreads, I don't use them that much. This is just kind of what a weekly spread looks like. But I will put some random notes in here as I'm on the go to kind of remind me what I need to fill in terms of my functional memory keeping and my pretty memory keeping in here. I don't always do this on that day. I usually do like a week at a time. So I will make some notes in here to remind myself what I want to put in here. And then this side I tend to use for any sort of random notes that I have while I'm on the go, to-do list items that pop up that I need to come and add into my main planner. So as far as setting up, I'm just going to do a little bit in the actual calendar, and I'll probably do these ones first because they are the quickest and easiest. Then I quickly want to mention this is just a blank notebook, and this is my companion notebook. I use this for random messy notes, testing pens, writing down all sorts of random things. You can see here, like, it's messy, it's full of all sorts of notes. Some of them they're usually just very messy, and that's okay. This is really just like my scratch paper essentially, and I like just having it in a bound book so I don't have like all these sticky notes everywhere. The only thing I do to set this up is stick a sticker to designate the change of the month, but I will actually put that on when it is August 1st because I don't know if I'm going to need this anymore in July. So that's fine. I don't really need to do anything with it, but I just wanted to mention it. Then I have my journal here. So this is my Hobonichi Cousin, and this is the Avec. So I'm in book 2. Now I'm going into month 2 in here. And this is more just memory keeping journaling. So the only thing I do to set this up at the beginning of the month is I do set up my monthly calendar. So I'll just put like the title here because I use this for just fun decoration. My July one's not done yet, but you can see just kind of how I work on this. So I'm going to go ahead and set this one up. And then I also do a monthly vision board. So you can see here like my July one. So I will put that together with you guys on here today. And then my final one is my craft planner. And I have shared a look at this in a lot of my videos, but essentially this is a day-free Hobonichi, which means that we have the monthly calendars at the front, and then we have blank pages, and that's it. So basically what I do in here is the monthly calendars, I use these to document what I have like shared on social media. And it's like my social media content calendar. And then the rest of this is just random, like not random, but like all of the craft plans. So like here's my project life planning. And then what I do set up each month is I have my monthly goals and my product tracking. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up for August, and I will talk a little bit about how July went. So let's see here. I did do this. So I have some like collaborations and that kind of thing. So I'm just marking off like the projects that I did. These are all the projects I wanted to work on. I was so protective in July. I got a lot of crafting done. I'm so happy with it. And then here are all of the products that I have. So like what came in and what didn't. So I'm filming this a couple days before August starts. So I know I'm actually going to get some products in. I have a couple of packages set to arrive today. So I can't do my totals yet, but this is essentially just letting me know, am I using more than I'm purchasing or is being sent to me? And if not, like what needs to change? So I will talk through that a little bit more as I set that one up. But first, let's go ahead and dive into my functional planners to set these up first. I'm going to put you on music/voiceover as I get these things put together. And that way you won't have to see me like thinking and making all of these decisions. But yeah, I'm going to do this one first. And then I think I'll probably do my craft planner next, but I will put timestamps in the description box below if you only want to see one or two of these setups. And yeah, let's dive right in. Okay, so as I said, I'm starting with my functional planners, which are both my Hobonichi Weeks and my A5 Take-A-Note. I am setting up both August and September. I set up a little bit of August when I did my plan with me for July, because as I said in the introduction, these are my functional planners and what I use for future planning, and I'm usually working about a month ahead. I do sometimes schedule events a long time in advance, especially things like vacations, or sometimes I get invited to functions that need to go on my calendar months in advance. But most of my monthly activities or just things that I have scheduled are only about 1 or 2 months out. So having 1 or 2 months ahead in here is very helpful for me. I add some of the stickers from the Coffee Monster Co. kits. I did purchase the Hobonichi Weeks kits for my weeks planner, and I purchased the Hobonichi Cousin kits for in my Take-A-Note. They are not the exact right size, but they work for how I use them. However, I decided I don't love using the kits as much as they have kind of on those sets. So I don't know that I will purchase them again in the future, because although they're super, super cute, it's not entirely my style to have everything pulled in from a sticker set. I like doing more of my own drawings and colors and that type of thing. I pulled over my commonplace book here because I do have Helen's color chart that she provided for free at the beginning of the year, where you can coordinate your mild liners with the kits. So I was looking up which color fit with this kit. She put both mild liners and the Tombow dual brush pens, and while I do have the Tombow dual brush pens, I rarely use them. They're just not my favorite, and I did purchase them a long time ago. I have all of the colors, and I purchased it back when I was doing bullet journaling, so probably I think like 2017. So some of them have definitely seen better days, which might contribute to me not liking them that much. But I don't know, I struggle with the Tombow dual brush pens, but that's a separate topic. So I pulled over one of the mild liners to use to create my title, and September is too long to fit on the left-hand side, so I just had it go across the page. You could see that I kind of cropped down those headers to fit for the days of the week. That is the one thing that doesn't fit from the Hobonichi Cousin kit in this planner, but otherwise it works really well, and cropping them down is super easy. I just use my paper trimmer and I crop them to a 1-inch size. I was struggling here because the left-hand side is not nearly as bulky as the right-hand side, because this is close to the beginning of the planner, and because I am adding photos and things into my Take-A-Note now, it is getting a little bit chunky. Not too chunky. I think it's totally still manageable, but it does have a little bit of bulk. So I just slipped another journal underneath the left-hand side, and that worked perfectly. For my pen here, I am using my Sailor Pro Gear, and I have a fine tip on that, and then I am using Diatramentis Archive ink. I originally struggled when I first got this pen. It was my very first fountain pen and it was a gift, and it's so cute, but it was very fine because it is a Japanese pen, and I thought that maybe it was too fine for me, but I don't like super thick pens, and I think I was just using the wrong ink because I was using fun, colorful inks in it. And I realized this is great as a functional pen, and the Diatramentis Archive ink is just my absolute favorite ink. It is a nice black. It's not super, super bright black, but it is just a very pretty black. And the way it flows, you still get that fountain pen look while it being functional and smooth, and it is quick drying, and you also can use it on top of highlighters and paint and all sorts of things without it feathering. Occasionally it will if you don't wait quite long enough for things to dry, but you can use it like a gel pen, and so that is very, very helpful for me because I do love fountain pens, but I hated their limitations. So here I'm adding some color on the very bottom row of each square. I'm adding in my work schedule. So I do work Monday through Friday. I have a full-time job. I do work 9 out of 10 days though, so every other Friday I have off. So I am marking out which days I am not in the office with that tan. There is one holiday and then 2 past days. And then on the second to bottom row, I am marking in travel. So sometimes my days, if I'm traveling for fun, my days off and my travel will hit on the same days. And that's why I put it on a separate line because they will both be on those 2 lines. But in September, my travel is work related. Therefore, those are on work days. I'm using some of the stickers from the Coffee Monster Co. to designate the various holidays. I'm adding in the American holidays and the general holidays, and I think I also have like the paper craft holidays. And so I put those on here, and there's a couple on that one day, which is not ideal because it is kind of filling in a little bit too much on September 22nd there. I don't really have space, but that's okay. And then in the bottom rows, I'm also going to write in my work schedule as far as if I'm working from home. I will write TC on there for telecommuting. And then I added the little stickers with the dollar bills for paydays because that does impact when I pay my bills, and it also impacts my work schedule. So I'm filling in a few different appointments that I had not yet transferred over from my Hobonichi Weeks. So the way I kind of do my planning is my Take-A-Note is my main functional planner for future planning. It's what sits on my desk. It's what I look at regularly when I need to try to figure out when I can work on certain things, or if I have time to schedule certain things, or, just to know what's going on. But my Hobonichi Weeks comes with me where I go. So I take it to work with me. I take it in my bag. If I go out shopping or if I have a doctor's appointment or whatever, I will have it with me. So if I schedule an appointment, I will write it in my Hobonichi Weeks immediately, or at least that's the hope. I am pretty good about it, but I won't always transfer it to my Take-A-Note immediately. When I do get back to my desk and I am working on planning, I will check my Hobonichi Weeks and update my Take-A-Note before making any additional appointments because I know that my weeks is the most up-to-date version of the month. However, because the Take-A-Note is bigger, it has space for me to elaborate a little bit more. So my weeks might just have a very quick note that I am busy. And in my Take-A-Note, I might add a little bit more, such as the location, or if I need to bring something, or that type of situation. I'm filling in a lot of different appointments in September because September is a pretty busy month, and this is the first time that I'm setting up September in my Take-A-Note. So it's nice to finally get like an image of what the month is going to look like. And I am seeing that I'm actually not as busy as I was concerned with, because although my weeks are super full because I have a lot of work stuff going on, my weekends are almost entirely blank, which is amazing because that means I'm going to have a lot of time to recover and craft and do all of the things that I want to do on the weekends, and it will make the weeks a lot more manageable. So I really like being able to see that. I'm filling in just a few more details, and then once I finish that up, I'm going to need to go back to my August spread and finish it up. So on the left-hand column here, I have my task list. And as I said in the beginning, these are my chores that I want to do around the house and various other tasks that need to happen during the month. These are mostly things that I need to do monthly or I do only once or a couple times a year, and those came from those early pages in my planner. These are not typically standard tasks or things like make an appointment or that type of stuff that I need to do that pops up. These are more ones that I know I need to do every month or on a certain personal schedule. Things that actually have deadlines that pop up, like making an appointment or, submitting my car registration, those types of things. I don't put them on here. I tend to put them just on my weekly spread when I want to get them done. And I will either schedule them in a future weekly spread if it's not time to do them yet, or I will leave a sticky note for myself to put it there, or I will put it on my current spread and then I will put it or migrate it forward until I actually complete the task. And writing it over and over again like that, while annoying, does put it in my mind and encourage me to get it done so I can check it off. This month I decided to leave a little gap in the middle of this task list between my ordinary cleaning that I want to do every month and my long-term cleaning and other tasks, because that way I felt like it would be easier to kind of see the break between the two and know what I had done and what I hadn't done. I am going to come back in with my Zig dot marker and add a bullet point for each of these. Here, this is this gray or silver, I think it's called platinum, and that is really the only Zig dot marker that I use. I will try to link one for you below, but sometimes the price goes up and down. I think you can get a single one for about $3 if you find a good price on either Amazon or JetPens, depending on when you can find it. You can also purchase these in a set if you do want other colors, but I really love just the silver. I tried to get into other colors and I really just didn't. So now I'm moving on to my craft plans, and I did talk through a bit at the beginning about my craft plans, so I don't need to talk through with as much detail here, but I'm essentially setting up my craft goals for the month on my left-hand side here, and on the right-hand side, I'm going to set up my tracking for my products for crafts. I will speed this portion up a little bit so that it doesn't take too long and this video isn't so long, but I will jump back in with a bit more voiceover once I get through a little bit more of the setup. Okay, so let's talk through my goals for the month of August. So here you can see I'm flipping back to my annual goals and writing in my top 3 for August, checking off things that I have completed, and kind of just checking in with how the previous months went. A lot of my annual goals are not things I can check off because they are just things like make progress on certain albums that are going to be huge projects. And so while I would love to check off those albums being done, the fact that I made a lot of progress on them is great. So I'm not too worried about checking off a lot on my annual goals list, but it is nice to check in with that. I want to point that out because a lot of times people fail at goals or goal setting, or they think it's not for them. And the reason is because they're not doing the most important step of goal setting, which is checking back in with your goal setting. If you write your goals for the year, for projects, for life, or whatever it is that you're setting goals for, if you never check back in with those goals, you're not going to make progress on them. The whole idea with goals is to write them down and then check in with them and hold yourself accountable to those goals. Of course, this is my crafting, so it doesn't have to be that serious. I can definitely just choose to not craft in a month, and that's totally fine. But I do like to set these goals and keep myself on track so that I do complete the projects that I want to complete while having fun with it. So talking through my actual goals over on the left-hand side there, the first thing I put was my project life. And project life tends to be one of my priorities when it comes to crafting. I think I just really like that project. I like having it up to date. I like documenting my life in that format. I find it very manageable to create a spread because I've been doing it for so long. And I also really love to share those spreads here on YouTube. And that keeps me very accountable to work on that project. So in the month of August, I want to complete July and catch up a bit more on project life. I've been a few spreads behind, and I really want to be working only like 1 week behind in project life. Then I have my creative teams, which of course that is a priority because I have made commitments to brands to do certain things. In August, I have a few additional things with some brands that I typically work with, just some extra kits or just the way that things were going. So I do have a lot of commitments there for August. So I'm going to be cognizant of that when planning other tasks. Then I decided that I don't want to work on any special projects in August. I do want to do a travel album soon. If you have been following along at Allie Edwards, the travel collection has recently launched, or at least been revealed, depending on when you're watching this. It has been revealed when I'm recording this. And I think I want to use that collection to document my vacation to Europe last summer, which I still need to scrapbook. And I am super excited to work on that, but I am very cognizant of the fact that tackling a travel album is a huge project and it takes away from a lot of other things that I want to work on. And right now, I'm just not in the place to tackle a large project. In June, I tackled Week in the Life. And right before that, I worked on a craft project. Another travel album I put together was for my trip in February to Dubai and Doha. If you haven't seen that, I do have flip throughs and process videos for how that travel album came together here on my channel. So I will link that in the description box below if you are interested in seeing a travel album. However, I don't think I'm yet at a place where I'm ready to tackle another travel album, which I guess is good because those supplies have not yet shipped. However, I do plan to share that here when I get to it. So stay tuned to hear more about my travel album process. And then I did finish up that spread, but I just quickly wanted to mention that my goals are to work on just some backlog projects instead. Now I'm moving on to working on my Hobonichi Cousin, which is my vision board. One of my favorite parts of this project or of the monthly setup is doing my vision board. This is where I kind of slow down and relax and enjoy some flipping through of magazines and cropping out pieces here and there to include. One of the things I do when cutting out magazines is stash letters because I do like to write using the letters from magazines. I find it super fun to use this in my vision board to write the name of the month, but I also use them in my daily spreads in my Hobonichi Cousin to add some titles. I really love collaging in my Cousin. I also like doing hand lettering and all sorts of other things, but having the option to collage letters is really fun. So whenever I see some words that have either letters that are rare, so you don't find them often, or letters that are a font that I really, really like, and a color I like, I will cut them out and add them to that tray that I have to store my letters in. That tray I picked up at Walmart, but I will link some ideas below for you if you are interested in picking up one as well. You can see me just flipping through magazines here. I'm just going to look through them. I'm looking for words that I want to add to my vision board or images that I want to be the background of my vision board, but I'm also looking for other things that I might just want to cut out in general to have to put in my journal. I like to use magazine cutouts on my monthly spreads. I also use them in my daily pages. So if I see something that I think would work in any of those places, I will also cut it out. Once I am done with a magazine, I usually will flip through them maybe 1 or 2 times, sometimes a couple of times. But once I've decided that I've read everything I want to read, I've cut everything out that I want to cut out, I will recycle the magazine and move on to having other ones so I don't have a huge stash of cut up magazines piling up. I do get magazine subscriptions, and I know a lot of people have asked me for a suggestion for that. I used to have a link, but I stopped working with that brand because I felt like their customer service was lacking. I am still looking for a new source, so I will share that with you guys when I have one. But I do recommend subscribing to magazines over buying them at the newsstand because they are so much cheaper if you pick up a subscription. And then picking magazines that fit your life. So the types of things that you would want. I really, really love Real Simple. I feel like it's a good balance of food and home and adventure and the types of things that I like to do, personal growth, those types of things. But you can also pick up a variety of magazines just depending on what fits your lifestyle. For example, if your goals are very fitness oriented, you might want to pick up a fitness magazine because there's going to be more words and images that fit that goal. I am super excited because here you're going to see me find some J's to cut out because J is the hardest letter for me to find because it's both rare, but I also use a lot of them because I do tend to use my alphas to write the months of the year. So January, June, and July all have J's, but J is just not that common of a letter otherwise. So whenever I see J's, I'm always super excited to cut those out. You can see I'm also pulling out words and putting them in a pile to the right. I'm pulling out images and putting them in a separate pile. The images are typically not going to be used in my vision board. Other than using images for the background, I tend to not use images in my vision board, instead focus on words. I'm just enjoying flipping through these. I'm watching TV while I'm flipping through my magazines. And lately I've been watching a lot of trash TV. I don't typically like those types of shows, so like reality shows, but I got sucked into The Secret Lives of Mormon Housewives, I think it's or Mormon Wives, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and I don't know, it was just super entertaining. And so now I'm on to watching Vanderpump Villa because there was a crossover episode between the two shows, and it's so silly and so ridiculous, but it is a great just kind of have on in the background while flipping through a magazine or crafting. I also like to watch a lot of YouTube videos while doing this, so let me know in the comments what you typically do while working on your projects. Are you usually watching something? Are you watching a show? Are you listening to music? I know a lot of people do audiobooks, which I just don't like audiobooks. They don't work for me, but let me know in the comments what you do while you're working on your vision board or other craft projects. So as far as flipping through the magazines, there is no real answer as far as how many do I do. It just tends to be whatever I feel like. And I can usually tell when I'm starting to feel kind of over it. And then I will do something. I will say, okay, I'm done cutting things out, and I will move on to putting my vision board together. It's usually 2 or 3 magazines, but it really depends. I also always flip through the new magazines that have come in since the last time I did a vision board, but I also pull some from my stash. I do have a decent stash of magazines because I used to subscribe to magazines and then I didn't make vision boards regularly, so I have kept a lot of those old magazines because I knew that at some point I might want to cut them out. I used to make vision boards maybe once a year or something, but I didn't do monthly ones. So I did have a backlog of magazines. So I think one of these ones I was just flipping through was from 2016. And sometimes it's kind of fun to see that and see how things have changed. But a lot of the words and things are still relevant enough that I can cut them out and use them. You can see this magazine I have flipped through and cut stuff out in the past, but I had decided to keep it. Most likely I wasn't cutting very much out at that time, or I was looking for specific things and kind of was starting to feel lazy and not cutting out everything that I might want. So when I start to do that, I know I'm kind of done with flipping through magazines, and I also will usually save those magazines because that means there's probably more to cut out. I think this is going to be my last magazine, and then I'm going to move on to putting my actual vision board together. So for putting my vision board together, the first thing I'm going to do is select a background image. And this month I'm going to do something a little bit different, which I find to be kind of fun. So usually I just go through my images, and I get those by when flipping through magazines, I pull out full page photos. So there's usually a lot of full page photos in magazines, and I will pull ones that I like the colors, I like the mood, I like the theme, and they tend to be very seasonal. So when I am working on my vision board, I try to pick one that fits the current season, and that is kind of going to be the base for the colors and the background and everything for my actual vision board. So this month I'm going to do it a little bit different because although I do select an image for the background, I'm actually going to pick 2 images and layer them. So here you can see I brought over my stack of these full page photos, and I didn't even flip through all of them because as soon as I saw this one, I knew it was perfect for August. I like the yellows and the greens, just the colors are very kind of warm weather, but calming, which is kind of the vibe I'm going for August, is lazy summer day. But also, being productive and being smart about it. So I know that a lot of my goals for most months are very similar because that is just kind of the vibe I want for my life, but that's okay. I'm having fun putting these together and reminding myself monthly of the things that I want to focus on. So I cropped this down, and you can see I cropped it significantly smaller than my page, and that's because this is in a album or a book that's going to close. It is a bound book. So if you add things too close to the edge of the page, they can get caught when the book is closing, especially as it gets chunkier, and they will add a lot of bulk and mess up your image. So I highly recommend cropping things a little bit smaller. Here you can see I brought this second image over, and this one I really liked it with the words on there. It says chill out, relax, and float through summer, which I thought was perfect for August and the themes I wanted. And the two colors of the two images really work nicely together. So I'm super excited about that. The next thing I'm going to do is add in my title, where I'm going to write the word August. Because I have these two images, I now have this natural division line in the center, which is going to be a perfect spot to have my word August sit on my page. And so I'm just going through my alphas that I've cut out and looking for the letters in August, and I'm considering size and color when doing this and trying to pick ones that have colors that I think will look good on this spread. You can see I'm putting the word August twice, and that's because one of these is for the spread and the other one is for my monthly page. On my monthly page, I tend to write the word of the month in setup along the left-hand side, and I don't do anything else, maybe add some washi, but that's it, because I will fill in the monthly calendar as the month goes on. But you will see that shortly in this video after I select all of my letters and get everything in order to put on that spread. You can see as I'm going through my letters, I'm going to pull out a stack of all of the letters and kind of sort through them and look for the ones I want to use. I tend to not want to use more than one from the same word in an actual magazine in the same word. So, like I had pulled over that T that matched the U in August, so I wasn't going to use it again because it came from that same word in a magazine. Hopefully that made sense. But I do like the way that these turned out. And so what I'm going to do now is pull over some washi tape. I like to use some washi tape as like a grounding base to add my word. And so I'm going to use this craft washi tape right there. And then I'm going to adhere August on top of it. The washi tape just adds a little bit more of a line to have a place to add your word, and it just kind of grounds it a little bit more into the spread and makes it look a little bit more complete and helps it pop from the background. I started from the middle because I wanted to make sure that I had the space to include my word and have it look a little bit centered on the page. I know it's not going to be perfect because the letters are different widths, but it's close enough. And then here you can see I'm flipping to this monthly page here to add in the word August on my monthly spread. I really have a lot of fun with these monthly spreads, but I tend to only work on them a couple times a month. If you want to see more about how those come together, I do share in my monthly flip through videos of my Hobonichi Cousin, where you can see how this journal comes together at the end of the month, including my monthly spread. But for now, I'm just going to add the word August, and I'm going to select a washi tape to decorate the bottom of the page. There's a quick peek at my July there because I wanted to pick one that would just coordinate nicely and fit the theme of what I'm looking for in August. And so I end up going with a cute floral here that's from the Coffee Monster Co. I think the colors match a lot with what I selected for my vision board and just fits the summer vibe and the slow kind of summer pace that I want for August. For my actual vision board, I'm going to go work on that next. And the next step is selecting the words and phrases that I want to add onto the page. The past few vision boards I have done, I haven't filled the page with a ton of words. Instead, I've done like a stack of words down through the page and let the image shine through a lot more. And I really like how that comes out. I really like that look. I feel like it's also more manageable to put together. If you want to fill the entire page with words, you can definitely do that, but it is going to be way more time consuming. So doing one a month like that just doesn't seem feasible to me. Also, with just finding that many words in magazines, it would just take a lot of time. I pulled over my tray here, and I do have a video sharing how I organize these trays for my magazine cutouts. I will link that in the description box below. But these are the ones that I didn't use in previous months, or I cut out at different times of the month just when flipping through magazines for other reasons. So I have some additional words to pull from. But I'm primarily using the ones that I cut out of the magazines today as my starting place. So I'm just going to read through the ones that I put on here. so that you can get an idea of the themes and moods that I'm looking for in August. At home, balance, play, what we're loving, sharing, and celebrating, matters of the heart, get moving, easier, books, thankful, time, what will you make, and happy place. So you can see I don't select a ton of different words and phrases, but I do have a few with general themes that I'm looking for in the month. I've also picked quite a few phrases this month as opposed to just individual words, and I like that. Sometimes I'm cutting out entire sentences. You can see there's one there on my table that is like a longer quote, and I like pulling those types of things out of magazines and including those in my spreads as well. I also have, of course, the piece that says chill out, relax, and float through summer. That is part of my background. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Thanks. Bye.